Massage today. Oh, it's so nice. That had a lot of water back there. What did you do?
I got a massage.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, that feels good.
And then,
That's good.
What?
Massage
What?
is wonderful.
What massage or something?
whole body,
Whole body.
whole body.
Oh, those are great.
Be careful, they're gonna be live streams, so if you don't want people to know about it, full body massage.
Thank you. Yeah, I got no.
Okay.
Okay.
But they tell you after you have a massage, make sure you get hydrated, because I don't know, somehow it dehydrates you, or I don't know what it is, but
Maybe because it's a change in your body.
it's all that stuff
Yeah.
working.
Circulation. and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So, I had one of those one time. A gift from someone. Oh, no, I shouldn't think. One did.
Oh,
And
yeah, sure.
another one did a full body massage. And then the music and that's all like. Very relaxing and.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Sue, can I put my offering?
I don't know what it's more than it's got the counter on, bro.
Where,
In there?
Yeah. I'm really busy, Costco, and sometimes I forget to bring my envelope, or sometimes I leave my envelope in my purse. And I forgot.
Any different than anybody else?
That's right, it
Not any
happens.
different than me.
Well, I'm not gonna be here for a couple weeks after, so I want to make sure I get this.
It was pepper in there.
I stopped at McDonald's for.
Hmm?
I stopped at McDonald's for an
Oh,
iced
okay.
tea. And I had, when I cleaned out my car, when I got the new one, I found a bunch of gift cards in there.
Oh,
From McDonald's, and McDonald's and Burger King and Panera, there's one of them. So I
oh, this is
told
you.
the lady, seems to be really good. So one was $1.83
oh,
and one was 83 cents, I think. This was only like $1.70. So I said, I've had
Hey,
this
look at
forever.
that throw she's got. Boy, you're really using those muscles in there.
I said, I've had these forever, and this lady said, I just cashed in since they were 20 years old, gift cards. She said, I cleaned out a drawer and I found them. So I donated the rest of it all to Ronald
why is
McDonald
the-
House, so.
The giving closet lights on and the food pantry?
Because she's
Okay.
doing a variety of things.
The lady that barricaded me in, she brought some food too that I'm not gonna have a chance to go through.
Don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. And anytime you get overwhelmed, make sure you let us know.
Well, the thing is, Sue, I didn't know that
Didn't
I was
expect
gonna be
these
here by
things.
myself today. I did not
Oh,
know that.
okay.
And I didn't know this lady was gonna.
That
Do
was,
this.
that, yeah,
barricade me.
I'd be pretty,
Yeah, I can understand that.
because she didn't call or anything, right? Someone
No.
just
I
dropped
don't know.
it off
No,
like
she didn't
it's
even ring the
Salvation
doorbell.
Army.
She didn't even ring the doorbell because I went back in the tape and looked.
You recognize her at all?
Some people do that.
Yeah.
It's the dumping ground.
Well, people sometimes just
Don't think.
think, and they don't think of others.
Well, they don't care. They just want to get rid of
Yeah,
it.
sometimes
right.
it's
They've heard that we
it's
take
one-sided, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
They don't think of the consequences. That's why I say every member should take one of the jobs at Resurrection
Mm.
and do it for one time, so they understand what really
What's
goes on.
involved. That's why it takes teamwork to get things done too sometimes. It's just, and the thing is don't feel guilty if you ask for help because you're human. And we don't want you to collapse. And we want you to stay hydrated so you go to the bathroom too. Because you're human,
That's right.
physically and mentally. We all. Possibly.
Hello there.
While you're trying- Stand by, taking
What? What? Okay, that's easy.
What?
There's a delay.
Oh,
That sounded like it was you.
what, Lee?
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome to Bible study. It's 2:00.
All right,
Hello.
well,
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
hi. I know that, Jan is supposed to come, so how about we just wait another minute or two? for
That's
Jan?
fine.
So if anyone, had a chance to notice the board?
No,
Yeah, we had our special
Oh,
meeting
yeah, huh?
on Monday
Yep,
and, we changed some things.
yeah, but yeah, a lot of reorganization, so.
Mhm.
Is that going to stay up for a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Of
Yes.
course.
what's it? It's
Okay.
Is that a new?
So that, first Daryl did that with our, we were all, that was him. And first it was like community outreach
Mhm.
and he's like, "Nah, I'm not sure I like that word." And,
Yeah.
and so he changed it to connect.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's fine.
I like that.
I like
Again,
it.
Woo.
This is phase 2. This is a work in progress.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Mhm.
what's up there isn't necessarily the end result. It's just more ideas. We had another, we had a session with the council. And this is what we came up with, but actually, I was gonna leave it up, but I forgot I do have to change it. He wanted me to
Yeah, because what,
make it neater.
the better one, number 2
So-
to the left, then the community, and then stewardship on the right.
Right,
Yeah.
so proclaiming the good news that represents serving our neighbors. Community connection represents by the action, and stewardship of resources represents sharing our blessings. So actually, that's how.
Looks good.
Yeah,
Mhm. I like it. And we're moving forward. That's wonderful.
mhm.
Did, none of you live in Franklin Park, do you?
Yeah.
Jan.
I saw on the
Judy?
news last night, Franklin Park is, the water bills are just going out
Oh, yeah. Mhm. It's pretty nice.
outrageous. They were, and I saw John Johnson, one of our members, he's on the trustee, I guess. I thought they were arguing. You live in Franklin Park?
Yeah.
Are your water bills high? Some of them were in the thousands.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
There
my
was
God.
something, Alan mentioned it at the meeting on
Yeah.
Monday, that was the same night as having hearings.
Yeah, they were having a hearing.
People they had 5 minutes to say what they needed to say. But yeah, something about there was new, like 20, I don't know, it was new water
meters.
put in and,
What happens is under, it's estimated. It's the cost of the switch, and somebody from the water. Out.
mhm.
Some. They get your water usage by driving by the house, there's some transmitter that sends a message.
Oh,
But if the current runs out, you're not gonna do that. Yeah, so that's what they do estimate.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Crazy.
wow.
Right.
That was a,
And then with the heat wave, of course, they're using more water,
Mhm.
drinking water and
My electric
watering the
bill's gonna be
plants. and stuff.
high.
Yeah, with the air conditioning being on and.
yeah, I turned it off when I was left, so then I'll wait.
All right. Well, Jan is here. I believe that everybody
Okay.
is here who's gonna be here. Jetty isn't gonna be here, right?
I don't know, I didn't hear from her.
Okay. I think she would have been here by now. So why don't we start? Let's see. Peace be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. God of everything, be with us as we study today your word. Let us learn to be more trusting. Let us learn to turn our fear into calmness. And let us learn to trust Jesus to be the one to help us learn to trust and to calm our fears. We pray all these things in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. So the choices of discipleship is trust or fear. And the focus question is, do we trust Jesus to calm our storms? The word of life. Jesus said to them, why are you afraid? Have you still no faith? And I'll do the reading. Late that day, he said to them, let's go across to the other side. They took him in the boat as he was. Other boats came along. A huge storm came up. Waves poured into the boat, threatening to sink it. And Jesus was in the stern, head on a pillow, sleeping. They roused him, saying, Teacher, is it nothing to you that we're going down? Awake now, he told the wind to pipe down and said of the sea, Quiet, settle down. The wind ran out of breath. The sea became smooth as glass. Jesus reprimanded the disciples. Why are you such cowards? Don't you have any faith at all? They were in absolute awe, staggered. Who is this anyway? They said. Wind and sea at his beck and call. Right. Jan, do you want to read or would you like to pass?
I mean, they're pass.
All right, Sue, will you start us off?
Certainly. Jesus was teaching from a boat as the crowd gathered along the shore. Primarily, he taught parables to the crowd, but afterwards, Jesus nurtured the faith of the disciples as he further explained the meaning of the parables. When evening came, Jesus asked to go to the other side of the sea, away from the crowds. As they sailed across the lake, he fell asleep in the stern. That night, a storm developed, swamping the boat with high waves. How do you picture this scene? Describe it. Well, I guess I just picture it like it says here. You know, they were going across, and a storm hit, and night hit, and they were in danger. And I think the disciples did not really rely on Jesus to help them at that point. So that's how I picture the scene, and I pass it on to Jay.
Okay, the boat's being rocked violently due to the wind and the churning water. The disciples are terrified, and Jesus is sound asleep. I pass it on to Sue.
I agree with what's been said, and also they were scared because they could not control it. And they feared instead of trusting Jesus, and Jesus was sleeping, and they were panicking because they're human and reacting that way. Your turn, Jim.
Okay. Well, the waves were really trying to swamp the boat, you know, I mean, just really almost like a gale force storm like that. So, you know, the Seth was scared, so they asked Jesus, what are we going to do? So he told the wind the storm to stop. So pass it on to you.
Actually, Jeff, why don't you pass it to Lindsay? And then Lindsay, you can pass it to
Okay.
me, to Lauren, okay?
Okay. So this is number one. I really picture the weather. For some reason, I have this really vivid picture of like those really dark, stormy days where it's almost like nighttime, and just, yeah, the water and all the waves crashing. You know, that's, I don't know, such a strong image for me when I picture this scene. I mean, I picture the other parts too, the people, but for some reason, yeah, the imagery with the storm is very strong for me, for number one. So that's my answer, and I pass it on to Lauren.
All right, thank you. Well, when last week we read the reading right before this, which was about, mustard seed. And then at the very end of the reading, and it has another meaning. And the last thing, verse 34, when he was alone with his disciples, he went over everything, sorting out the tangles and tying the knots. And in our reading, it also says, not in the reading, but in the study, he further explained the meanings of the parables. And it's interesting, like, why don't we get to hear those meanings? Like, wouldn't that be helpful?
Okay.
If like we got to hear exactly what Jesus said. Like, this is, what it is. Like I had said last week, like the symbolism is left for us to interpret according to our own abilities. And so it's interesting to me that this parable about the mustard seed, and then Jesus tells his disciples what this is about. And then this next story, although it's not a parable, is to me, it's almost like, okay, now it's your turn. Here's a story about Jesus. What does it mean for you? And so to me, it's not a literal storm. To me, so it says they took him in the boat and other boats came along, and then a huge storm came up. I think the boats are other people in their faith. I think the boat represents, it's a symbol for a person's faith, which is a common theme in Buddhism, actually, a raft to get you across to the other shore. It's a very common theme of your raft is your faith, and the river is life, and how difficult, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's not, and how you get to it. So you use your faith, the boat, to get to the other side, or not necessarily death, but enlightenment. So to me, the boat was their faith, and the other boats were people in their boats, in their faith, and they all got into an argument, and that's what the storm is. It was an argument. And I'm going to continue on in the next section as to what I think more of that means for the next questions. I'll make it more clear. So I pass it to you, Jan.
I agree with you. From the again.
Okay.
And I started.
And Judy, you're next.
All right. The disciples reacted with panic and despair, believing themselves to be drowning. Jesus remained asleep. Finally, the disciples could not bear it any longer. They woke Jesus, crying out, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" The disciples revealed no underlying hint of hope of Jesus rescuing them from the storm, nor was there a glimmer of expectation of Jesus stilling the storm. Question 2, why do you think they woke Jesus? Question 3, what is surprising about this part of the story? Question 4, is the behavior of the disciples predictable or warranted? And question 5, how would you expect Jesus to react? Well, for question number 2, they were terrified, and I think they expected Jesus to do something, so that's why they woke Jesus. They were terrified and they thought they were going to drown. What is surprising about this part of the story? Well, 2 things sort of surprised me: that Jesus could sleep through all of that. And the disciples, I think, didn't trust Jesus enough to realize that he wouldn't let anything happen to them. Is the behavior of the disciples predictable or warranted? I think both. I think if I were on that boat, I probably would have been scared too. And how would you expect Jesus to react? Just like he did in the boat. In his view, the disciples should have trusted him, or should have known that he wouldn't let anything happen to them. I pass it on to Sue.
I agree with Judy said. That's many things that I was gonna say. So I'll pass it on to you, Jeff.
Okay, for number 2, where did you say that? Give them help, say, could you help us, like that. And number 3, first part of the story, well, Jesus had a good sound sleep there. He never gave a thought about, things going on. So he said, and they also never thought that Jesus could stop the storm. Okay, number 4, predictable. He's there. And number 5 is, don't worry, I got this under control. God wouldn't let anything happen to son and drown. Okay, Lindsay?
Are you there, Lindsay? She might.
Sorry, I had myself muted in case I was talking to Valentina. My bad. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what has been said. I guess, yeah, I want to go back and actually think more about Lauren's answer to number one and just like look back. I'm just saying in general for myself, I want to go back and read it more like, I guess, yeah, metaphorically. I was reading it very literally, so I really like what you had shared. So yeah, I kind of agree with what has been shared already. And yeah, I just think for Jesus, you know, it's just another moment where he's like, okay, I have to prove these guys again that I'm the real deal. Yeah, I agree with what's been said, so I'm going to pass it on to Lauren.
Thank you. I'm gonna answer 2 and 3 together. Why do I think they woke Jesus?
Well, yeah.
What is surprising to the story? Because the ones with the boat, couldn't handle their own boat. Jesus, not a sailor, had to fix things. And it says here, I didn't get this at first, but and of course this is a message, so you know it's going to be a little different, but it says, let's go across the other side. They took him in the boat as he was. And I thought about that. What does that mean, as he was? And I thought, well, perhaps, you know, maybe he wasn't dressed for sailing, you know, like like if you're going to get into a boat, you got to wear certain clothes, or you know what I mean? Like that's what I took that as. So, you know, the non-sailor had to fix what the sailors couldn't handle, right? And then is the behavior of the disciples predictable or warranted? I agree with you, Jeff. It was predictable because to me, they were not able to testify to their own faith. They couldn't defend themselves. And that's what caused the storm being an argument because other boats came along. You know, I don't think they could testify, you know, what they believed properly. And now how would I expect Jesus to react? Well, I didn't really answer this now that I'm looking at the question. I didn't really answer it perhaps properly, but how I thought he reacted was like, I can't get any rest. I have to do everything, basically. Because, you know, he says, like, you still, like, no faith all this time. So, all right, Jan, I pass to you.
You're so beautiful, May. God is in control. Well, I'm going to perfect and beautiful.
Okay, number 2. Why do you think they woke Jesus? Well, they were panicking. They were afraid. They didn't know what to do. And I don't know at that point whether they had enough faith in Jesus to know that he could do something. No, but I think they panicked. Number 3, what is surprising about this part of the story? That Jesus slept through it all. You know, when there's a storm coming at night and I'm sleeping, I can hear it. I wake up. Jesus didn't. He just, like, to me, it was almost like, it's okay. You know, I'm going to still sleep. It's okay. It'll be okay. And is the behavior of the disciple, I think I had both predictable but then I thought maybe not warranted. You know, because they didn't know what was going to happen. And how would you expect Jesus to react? Just like he did. Calm. Okay, I got this. Don't worry about it. That's where you start.
I started, yes.
Sue, would you like to read next?
Okay. Jesus woke up and rebuked the wind, calming the sea with the words, "Peace, be still." With these words, the wind ceased and the water was calm. Yet what about the chaos and panic in the hearts of the disciples? Internally, they were still in the storm. Jesus seemed amazed that the disciples were so scared. Where was their faith? Jesus directly challenged them. Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith? How sympathetic are you to the disciples? Well, it's human reaction, but the thing is, disciples were not understanding what Christ was telling them. Have faith, everything will be fine. I have it, it's in control. Be calm and relax and things will go forward, will move forward. Imagine the reaction of the disciples as they heard those words. They were confused and they were upset, and everything happened so fast. Hopefully they changed and listened to Christ. And there was a calmness in prayers, maybe. God only knows. Your turn, John.
Okay, with 6, yeah, kind of sympathetic, that they're scared, still shaking like that, but the disciples, they should, um, when they talk about faith, they should say, believe what they said, talk about faith, but they kind of weren't sure about that, you know. And number 7, okay, they were surprised. What he could do that, really? And now he's saying that they still don't pray. If you can't do this, they're just surprised. So, Lindsay, it's up to you.
Okay, I'm totally sympathetic to the disciples because I guess I'm well, yeah, I mean, like, because think about it, I mean, we're still like that today. How many times do we even today question, God's plan and how things are going, and we still have doubts and fears and anxieties, and it's even more so in that time because, as I bring up a lot, this was a time where, people still were learning who Jesus was and what he was about. So everyone was discerning of what was going on. So yeah, I totally empathize with that because I think, again, still today we're very much like that, and we still have to be reminded of God's presence and things. And number 7, yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, as was said, there was like confusion. I know I would be very confused because, again, yeah, it's human reaction. I'd be, just, yeah, like that fight or flight reaction. If there's some storm, you think, yeah, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. So, let's see. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it at the moment. Yeah, I would have been shocked and confused and, in awe. I think I would have been really in awe at like, oh, wow, he was able to make this change happen. And I'm going to pass it on. Oh, and really quick, sorry, one last thing to add. I just wanted to think of, I just want to remind you guys, there's this cute show that my daughter and I watch sometimes on PBS Kids. It's called Xavier Riddle and the Secret Museum. And I was just thinking back to the earlier question. Someone said, oh, I wish, there could be a translator or something to like tell us how, what was really going on. It's cute though, 'cause in the show, a lot of it is them going back in time, like in history. And they're meeting famous people when they were young and learning about their lives and how they came into, what they did to be influential. So I would think like, oh gosh, that'd be so cool if they did an episode like going back to things like this or back to anything in the biblical times. That would be really cool if they could do that on that show. They have a little translator and things like that, that translate languages and different meanings of things. So anyway, I just wanted to share that, and I will pass it on to Lauren.
Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, that's a good point there about that show. Like, I would love to be able to go back in time and see what really happened, So how sympathetic am I to the disciples? I feel them. They're still learning. They learned these old patterns, these old ways of doing things like fighting, and Jesus's way is new. So it's not easy. They don't have their sea legs yet. Imagine the reaction of the disciples as they heard these words of Jesus saying, "Peace, be still." Well, I think, as it says here, like, they were in awe, almost like, wow, he can do this. He can do everything, that kind of a reaction. And I pass it to you, Jan.
Thanks, Kim. That made fun. let the friend from kind of effort and effort.
Okay. I would be sympathetic with the disciples. You know, faith, you don't all of a sudden just get faith. Faith grows stronger as time goes on. You don't just, okay, I have faith, I'm okay, everything. It doesn't work that way. Faith grows stronger as you go on and observe everything. And so I'm sympathetic with them. And I kind of am still with the disciples, what their reaction as he's heard these words that, is this really happening? Is it true? Is it gonna stay or is Jesus really that powerful? And I pass it on to
All
Jerry.
right, thank you. Question number 6. I'm sympathetic to them. For whatever reason, you know, they see Jesus performing miracles, but somehow it just doesn't sink in. So when he says, peace, be still, and everything stops, you know. And I know with me, when times get tough for me, sometimes it's hard to trust that Jesus will make things all right. Now for question number 7, I answered not using the words peace, be still, but I looked at Jesus saying, why are you afraid? Have you still no faith? And I would imagine some of the disciples would wonder, well, we were really scared. Why is he sort of dismissing our fear? And then some of the disciples, when they heard those words, realized what they done, you know, they might have felt a little ashamed that they didn't trust in Jesus. And Sue started.
Yeah.
Okay. Jesus has been with the disciples for some time, teaching and training them. Yet their faith seems like that of a beginner. After the calming of the storm, the disciples were filled with awe. They said to one another, who is this? Even the wind and the sea obeys him. As much as they have seen Jesus heal others and perform miracles, they did not grasp his power to impact their lives when they're in a time of trial or need. The power of Jesus is not just for others who are in need, but also for them. Jesus had the power to calm both the storms over the seas and inside the disciples. Number 8, what is most important to hear the story? That disciples still they would comprehend and understand the power of Jesus and helping others and them, especially them, you know, for trial and everything to call them down like that. But they're learning them. They still look get it. So I'll pass it on to you. Oh, Lindsay.
Okay. I'm gonna pass at the moment. If I go back and answer at the end, please. I'm gonna pass it to Lauren.
Okay. So what's important to hear in the story? Well, one thing I want to point out that his reaction kind of shows his human side with the disciples. You know, have you no faith? Like he's a human and he is a right. I think he was discouraged. So I think that's one thing that's important to know, that we can all be discouraged. Even Jesus was discouraged. But what's most important for me is knowing your faith and knowing and understanding your faith, knowing how to defend it and knowing how to stand up for your faith. And I pass it to you, Jan.
You know, I like to be careful from kind of effort and
Okay. What is important to hear in this story? That Jesus, I don't want to say the word power. Jesus not even control, but Jesus is there for us. Jesus is there to calm us when we're upset, if we only ask him. And that's about all I got to say. I pass it out.
All right. For question number 8, what's important to hear in this story? Jesus has the power to calm the storms inside of each of us. We just have to trust in him. And I pass it on to Sue.
I agree with what's been said. You trust God and have faith and you'll get through daily with his help. But you're trying to.
Okay, well, I read it, so.
Lindsay, do you want to answer or do you want to pass?
I guess what I just would add to that is one time I read this somewhere, saw this was actually back when I was in college, and it was like basically like God wants you to learn and know what he wants you to learn and know and do things when like in his time and when he wants you to. And yeah, I think that just goes along with addition of what's been said. It takes time to build faith and grow in it. I think, it's definitely a journey. And it was no different for the disciples. And yeah, it's so very much about trust. And that's my addition. I pass it on to Lauren.
Okay, well, we're gonna move on to the other side now. And Lindsay, would you like to read Word Among Us, the first couple paragraphs?
Sure. Carlos had just completed the last set of medical tests. All he could do was wait for the results. His heart pounded as he left the hospital. Fear swept over him. He could barely walk to his car. Carlos drove cautiously from the hospital, but he found himself not heading directly home. Instead, he turned off a side street. It had been a long time since he had worshipped, but he decided to stop by his church. He was a bit surprised when his church key still worked. There were a few cars in the parking lot, but he went directly to the sanctuary and sat down on a front pew. He chuckled to himself and shook his head. Finally, he was back in church. It felt good. Carlos didn't really know how long he had been sitting in the sanctuary when he felt someone join him. It was the pastor. Slowly, they began a conversation, but quickly they moved to the heart of his fears. As they prayed together, he felt his fears lessen and a peace descend on his heart. Number 1, describe a time when you were afraid. Number 2, what do you do when you find yourself full of fear? Ooh, these are, Gosh, I'm trying to pinpoint like a specific time when I felt afraid. There's been a lot of times, and I'm very anxious all the time too. So, what do I do when I find myself full of fear? Yeah, I guess I do pray. I do, if someone I trust is around that I can talk to, I do try to tell them what's going on or ask what they think. And, I will pass it on to Lauren.
Thank you. Yeah, I went over this last night and even then I couldn't really think of it like some specific fearful time, although I have experienced fear. Excuse me, I think I'm about to sneeze. No. I have experienced fear, most certainly. What do I do when I find myself full of fear? Well, I pray, and I also try to find ways to feel safe, because fear, if you feel fearful, when I feel fearful, usually there's a lack of safety somehow. It's not necessarily fear, safety, meaning like I'm going to be like physically hurt, but just mostly it's emotionally hurt. So I try to find ways to feel safe. And I pass it to you, Jan.
It is hard for me to pinpoint, but I am afraid. So I listen to music. So I'm going to pass again.
Okay, I can't really answer either one of these questions. I don't remember a time when I was afraid. I imagine there were many times when I was afraid. And what do you find yourself full of fear? When do you find yourself full of fear? I don't, because I had trust in God, trust Jesus and God, and I pass it on.
Okay, well, for question number 1, This was when, well, my daughter was in college, she and her boyfriend were out. Phone rings at like 2 a.m. and they call her ID, says Loyola Medical Center.
Oh,
So I'm
no.
thinking, oh, this isn't good. Well, anyway, they were in a car that was involved in an accident. So her boyfriend called, that's who was calling. So, of course, we get dressed, we go to the medical center. Luckily, she was okay. She just had some stitches. But all the way there, you know, it's like thinking the worst. And then what was helpful is the chaplain came and she did pray with us. Unfortunately, she came before we got there. She went over to my daughter's boyfriend and he thought she had died because
Oh, no.
the chaplain was there, you know,
Yeah.
so that wasn't, you know,
Oh, poor kid.
yeah, you know, but I guess that's what he related. The chaplain, if the chaplain
Yeah,
comes, you
yeah,
know,
it would really be the
the
doctor.
worst had
The
to
doctor
happen.
would
You always
have
think the
known.
worst.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Of course.
And what do you do when you find yourself full of fear? I pray, or I find someone that I know I can talk to. So I pass it on to Sue.
Okay. Well, the time when you were afraid, well, there's several times in my life I've been afraid about different things and changes and different things. But I've always prayed and put it in God's hands and his will be done. And his will was the right answer. And it gave me strength to get through these things and put it in God's hands. Sometimes a journal or you use music, of calming music, and continue to put it in God's hands because what goes around comes around and he does take care of us. Your turn, Jack.
Okay. Describe the time, well, sometimes I've been afraid about various things like that there. You know, happened to me, and then what do? Well, try praying for Jesus for help or services. So, and that's about it. So is that now, Lindsay? Yeah.
Lindsay read that.
Oh, that's right.
So we're gonna move on. I'll read the next part. Storms come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. For the disciples, their storm was a raging wind, rain, and chaos. The disciples thought they were going to perish. It must have been aggravating for them to see Jesus sleeping through the storm and their pending death. I feel like there's a lot of drama, actually. Who do I know who stays calm in the midst of a storm, and what is their secret? I don't know. I mean, sometimes I'm able to stay calm in the midst of a storm. I think, I don't know. I don't know any specifically, except for Jesus. Jesus obviously stays calm in the storm. And what is his secret? Well, he's the Son of God. So pass it to you, Jan.
For number 3, I was thinking about mouth and toes. Will stay calm and talk to me. So I'm going to pass it on.
Okay.
So,
Well, I think of myself. I usually stay calm in the midst of a storm, whether it be a weather storm or a storm in our family. I try and be calm and keep other people calm by knowing that Jesus is right with us. And what is your secret? Having my faith, knowing he's going to take care of it. And I pass it on to Judy.
Well, for question number 3, it certainly isn't me, so that, I guess I guess I would say my dad. And what was his secret? He was just a calm person, yes. So I pass it on to Sue.
Okay, who do you know who stays calm in the midst of a storm? Well, you know what? There's other people that trust in, like my and, when they're in different situations, and, I inspire them by trusting in God and journaling and putting it in God's hands. But I also can imagine a captain of a ship, how calm he is, because he has a crew that's knowledgeable about what to do. And so, I'm sure he also puts faith and trust in his crew as well as God, so he can get through this and, life will go on. Your turn, Jeff.
Okay, number 3. Yeah, I'm not sure, who I know who stays calm. He was on this storm here, but I don't know who. And the secret, okay, it's just praying and asking for assurance from God. So, Lindsay?
Are you there, Lindsay? Did you mute yourself? I think she did. See it.
She might be doing something.
Okay, sorry. I'm like, I moved my phone to the other room and then I had it muted, so sorry. Yeah, I would say, yeah, obviously Jesus is calm. Jesus is calm during the storm. And yeah, I think the whole storm is, is a whole metaphor, I mean, we talk about, weather storms, but then also, yeah, like storms in life and, different, yeah, I guess you'd say struggles and things we have to overcome. Those are also kind of like storms. And let's see. So yeah, I think a lot of, it just kind of depends on what it is. I know different people are calm in different situations. So I can say that applies in a lot of different ways. And I agree with what's been said. Yeah, I think faith, and I think always just remembering that whole line, that there's always a calm after a storm. I think, yeah, that is something that I just always think of. Or I forgot, there's another saying out there, but it's basically like, there's always, like, everything's a season, like whatever you're going through, like there's going to be, it's not going to be permanent. It's going to change. And I think that's something, sometimes we have to remind ourselves when things are hard, is that like, okay, this isn't going to be forever. So that's what I wanted to add to it. And I'm going to pass it on to Lauren.
All righty, and I read that, so shall I skip you, Jen? Okay, let's skip to Sue.
Okay, Jesus reprimanded the disciples for not trusting him to calm the storm and their spirits. Had they not been paying attention during the previous days, weeks, and months? Jesus confronts the disciples on their lack of trust. What might Jesus say to us about our level of trust in him? And how might we trust Christ with our own fears? Well, what might Jesus say to us about our level of trust in him? That it's not enough. Our faith is not enough. Don't trust enough. And how might we trust Christ with our own fears? Faith and believing in him to get us through the storms. I pass it on to David.
For question number 5, what Jesus might say to me is, I'm a work in progress. Sometimes I trust him. How might we trust Christ with our own fears? Maybe just keep praying. And sometimes I think we have to get in the habit of trusting Christ. Sometimes I think it's just easier to let the fear take over. Partially because we can't see Jesus. No, we can't see Jesus. We have to, it's more.
Did you go?
Huh?
She was talking about.
So anyway, and that's my answer. I'll pass it on to Sue S.
I agree with what's been said. Miracles happen every day. Have faith and put it in God's hands. Pass it to you, Jeff.
Yeah, I agree with Sue, Judy. So, I'll just pass it on.
Lindsay,
Lindsay, yeah.
you ready, Lindsay?
Hi.
Hello.
Sure. Hello. Okay, am I reading?
No, answering 5 and 6.
Okay, sorry, I'm grabbing my my sheet here again. I moved it. Sorry, I was running all around. Okay, I got it. Oh gosh, what made Jesus say to us about our level of trust in him? Well, we don't have enough trust, I think that's the issue. So in this situation, yeah, he was definitely exasperated, with the disciples. I think, yeah, he gets, probably still to this day very exasperated with us, because we don't always trust. And, it's giving me things to think about, my current situation, needing to have more trust. And let's see, how might we trust Christ with our own fears? Well, I think we have to just keep talking to him. We have to keep praying. And, something recently someone told me I usually don't do a lot, but they're like, pray out loud. And I'm like, and I usually don't do that. I usually pray silently. But they said, yeah, that's really another way to really connect more, is if you actually say your prayers out loud. And I thought, so, definitely things to consider. So that's what I want to add. And I'm going to pass it on to Lauren.
Okay. What might Jesus say to us about our level of trust in him? I can only really speak for how Jesus would say to me about my level of trust in him. And that is that there's always room for more trust, And then how might I trust Christ with my own fears? To remember his teachings, how he did things, how he responded, what he did do, what he didn't do. We have the Gospels as a guide because he's no longer, physically here. And so I pass it to you, Jan.
Yep. Ah, I feel the same way. I have to have more, more days than I have. So I'm going to pass it.
I started.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I will
The last
finish
one.
it up.
We're gonna finish today.
Yeah, the theme of daily discipleship during this summer is choices of discipleship. When it comes to trust, take a moment to ponder the relationship between choice, trust, and fear. Is trusting Jesus a matter of choice? What about those times when fear takes over our lives and chaos mounts? Imagine Jesus saying to you, "Peace, be still." Take a moment in silence to imagine those words from Jesus to you. 7, what part of your life needs to be calmed by Jesus? 8, are fear and trust opposite? How so? 9, what would it mean for you to choose to trust Jesus? For question number 7, what part of my life needs to be calmed by Jesus? I have a tendency to worry and be anxious about things I don't have any control over. And I need to be reminded to just not let that overtake my life. It's not always easy, but are fear and trust opposite? How so? Uh, Sometimes I think it's easier to be fearful of things and harder to trust things sometimes. I'm not really sure how to answer that. First glance, they would seem to be the opposite. But I'm not really sure I know how to answer that. What would it mean for you to choose to trust Jesus? I guess I wouldn't let the chaos that happens in my life to take over my life, I guess. And I pass it on to Sue Springer.
Well, what part of your life needs to be calmed by Jesus? Well, you're controlling watching what you watch on television and all the what's going on in the world and all the bad things that are happening, and for the safety and trusting and being calm by Jesus. And when there's an accident and how people drive and the way the world is, and you might be at the wrong place at the wrong time, just praying that it doesn't happen to you or your family and the world is that there's peace and love shown, and that there's fear and trust the opposite, because how you react to the world's actions and what's going on, and how you can make a difference in reacting positively and not negatively, and trusting in God. What would it mean for you to choose to trust Jesus? I mean, I always trust Jesus in my life, daily life, through prayer, and put it in his hands, because there's only so much control you have, but God knows all. And I'll pass it on to you, Jeff.
Okay, for number 7. Well, any new changes or worries in my life, and I just say, oh, how am I going to get through this one here? And for number 8, fear, trust. Well, fear is, you're frightened, you're scared, you're worried. Trust, as it was, you have confidence and hope, and so, yes, we'll get this through, so. And for number 9, what's it mean for you to trust Jesus? Help relieve your fear and the worries. Jesus will take care of everything, so you don't have to worry about this. And I'll pass it on to you, Lindsay.
Yeah, well, I agree with what's been said. For me personally, I'm very anxious. I'm always very worried about the future and am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? I don't want to have regrets, a lot of that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, it can really take me out of the present. So I think that's, definitely something that needs to be calmed in my life. I think sometimes I have to pray and ask that, I can heal my overactive mind and just try to step back and take moments to be, perhaps less reactive or jump to conclusions. Are fear and trust opposite? Well, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's kind of we can trust, but I think when I think of fear, I think of moments where, maybe, you're almost in a car accident or something like that. You're just scared, you're fearful, I think in those moments I trust, that, okay, I'll be safe, and then I'm safe. I'm okay, I thank God got me through it. I'm safe. Nothing happened. But I don't know if they're really opposite. I think they're just experienced at different moments. And trust, I think, is more of something that's a build. It's kind of a relational kind of thing. Fear, I think, is something that, it can be very momentary, depending on the situation. So, yeah, I don't know if they're necessarily opposites or not. I just think they're very circumstantial. And 9, what would it mean for you to choose to trust Jesus? I know for me it would be, I guess, less overthinking. I really need to stop overthinking. I think that's where I need to trust God and Jesus and know, okay, because actually, I was having a conversation with someone about this recently, how much of our lives are, our choice versus what's already been kind of pre-written, predestined by Jesus or God. And, okay, come on, I'll get to you. So, I think with that being said, I need to trust that, just God has a plan and he's putting me where he needs to and having me do what I should be doing. So that is my answer, and I will pass it on to Lauren.
Thank you. All right, what part of my life needs to be calmed by Jesus? My mind. Oh, also an overthinker. Are fear and trust opposite? I don't believe they're opposite. Because you can have trust while you're also afraid. To me,
Mm-hmm.
fear is a response or a reaction to the environment. That's, feeling a lack of safety. So for me, the opposite of fear would be calm, or like I said, feeling safe. What would it mean for me to choose to trust Jesus? Well, I already made that choice. It means everything to me. I pass it to you, Jan.
Life is never easy. For you to stay positive and trust in God. From the perfect and the full.
Okay, what part of your life needs to be calmed by Jesus? I need to accept things that cannot change and rely on him to help me do that. And are fear and trust opposite? I don't really know. I kind of think not. I think you can have fear and also trust. But I don't think they're opposite. But what would it mean for you to choose to trust Jesus? It means my faith is strong and going strong. Well, that's it.
And that's it. All right. So awesome, everybody. That's it. So let's pray. Let's pray the prayer together.
Let's pray.
Universe,
Now,
create
universe, create in me a trusting heart and cast out fear. Amen.
And the last word is find a quiet place for prayer. Open your hands and hold your palms upward. Pray and trust God to hear your concerns and fears.
good.
And I will not be here the next 2 Wednesdays. So who would like to take next week?
I can.
And I won't be here next week. I'll be out of town too.
It might be a small group. Right. So June next week. And and a new one. Okay. Oh, awesome, everybody. Thank you.
Hey.
Bye. Take care. Have a good week.
Bye.
So long, Lindsay.
Bye. Take care, everyone. Have a good week.
You too.